So, this session is designed to showcase how you can use our Seesaw lessons inside the Seesaw library to strengthen literacy skills right inside your classroom. So, my name is Yvonne Post, and I am a professional development and training specialist here at Seesaw. So, prior to coming to Seesaw, I was just like you. I used to sit in on professional development over the summer. So I was a classroom teacher. I taught kindergarten, first and second grade. Primarily, I did teach kindergarten. So I have a really big heart and passion for our littlest learners and our teachers. And then I went and became an academic technology coach, supporting our teachers, students, and administrators in grades PK all the way through fifth grade. I'm just really integrating that technology into their everyday instructional routines alongside our district curriculum. So, fun fact about me, I do live here in San Antonio, Texas, and I did work and teach in your neighboring district, Northside ISD, for many, many years before I decided to come to Seesaw and share all of my passion alongside you. So, thank you so much again for having me here today. So, before we get started, I would love for you to share in the chat, or if you are very comfortable, you may come off mute and share how do you teach literacy in your classroom. There is no wrong answer here. So again, this is just a sharing space to share with your colleagues, your peers. So again, how do you teach literacy in your classroom? So just think about, again, what you've been doing these past few weeks, months, what you did this past academic school year. How did you share your love and passion for literacy with your students? So again, drop those ideas in the chat. Again, feel free to come off mute if you'd like as well. Love to hear your thoughts. Again, this is a great time too. I get to learn from you all, so love it. And y'all, I had to get some caffeine because it has been a long, long day of PD. So excuse my caffeine drink there. I think we all know we all need a little caffeine as teachers. The day of caffeine drinking. So I can tell you, teaching literacy in my classroom, I just loved sharing all kinds of different stories with my students. And I would ask them like what kinds of stories they were interested in. We would definitely act out stories, whether that be in small group instruction or just in circle time. That was really, really powerful for my students. They loved acting out characters in the story as well. And then we would put that in stations for them. Let's see, teaching the various types of text. Yes, so fun for students. And as we're thinking about how we're teaching literacy in our classroom, now we're going to start transitioning and how Seesaw can really make an impact for you in that literacy component. So our objective today is for you to learn how you're going to be able to strengthen your literacy instruction and learning in your classroom using Seesaw and our lessons found in the Seesaw library. So we're going to start with focusing on learning to read and how Seesaw can be used to develop those early literacy skills. And then we're going to look at how student comprehension can really be strengthened while your students then are reading to learn. And then lastly, then we're going to focus on writing and how Seesaw can be used to supplement the writing instruction happening right inside your classroom. But before I get started, just a quick pulse. I know there's just a couple of us in here. Are we all elementary, or do we have a mix of elementary, middle, high? I know in the session I did yesterday, there was, I believe I had a middle and high school teacher in there. And so I just kind of want to get a pulse in there. So that way, when I talk about especially the writing components, I can be sure to address that as well. K2, okay, excellent, Celeste. Yes, my friend. Awesome. I'll wait for everyone else to kind of put in. I can kind of check the chat as we continue on. So the next, is really the first step in teaching literacy to our students is that learning how to read. And of course, our PK to really that 1-2 bracket really know this foundational skill the best. All right, early childhood to K, amazing. Thank you, Rosalind. So, the foundation of learning to read is really phonological awareness. And we really know that that's like that umbrella term for key literacy skills. And it really just does encompass identifying and manipulating the units of oral language. And we know that includes syllables, onsets and rhymes, and other skills that students need, really those foundational skills. And so it's really understanding that spoken words are made up of individual sounds called phonemes. So in the Seesaw Library, we really build on these foundational skills and really are going to support your students in that learning to read. So we know, again, there are many different skills that students are going to need as they begin to read. So first off is that identifying letter sounds, so really hearing and producing those sounds. And of course, you have different skills and activities that you are going to do in your classroom. Identifying letter names, really matching those sounds and symbols, blending and segmenting, putting and pulling those sounds apart. I know we had this Slinky in my classroom. My teaching neighbor, she had a doggy Slinky. It was the cutest thing in the world. And so we would borrow that, and at times we would pull it apart and stretch it apart. It was just just a fun activity. So again, you all are the masters at your craft here. And then sorting, identifying those patterns and dictation, of course, the listening and spelling of words. So again, these are all skills that your students will learn, again, using our Seesaw lessons. And I really think you're going to be blown away by this. So just kick it off here, just to strengthen that phonemic awareness skill. Your students, again, need to have those repeated opportunities to identify, practice, and manipulate letters and sounds. So our Fun Phonemes collection right inside the Seesaw Library is completely focused on sounds, and each activity is going to include ways for your students to see the sound in new ways. So this collection, again, will provide that purposeful practice for your students to record. They're going to get to listen to, identify, and then continuously try again, which is so important for our students. So with each sound, they'll have a model, and then again, that correct pronunciation. So you can see that there are audio components in here. So they'll always get to come back in with those scaffolds and listen to those pronunciations of the sound. You can also support letter recognition through hands-on, engaging, and developmentally appropriate lessons from our Seesaw library. So as you're teaching that letter sound relationship, you can begin with these activities that your students may encounter the most. So students can begin reading words and experiencing those joys of comprehension. So here in Alphabet Garden, this is a collection that really invites students to practice that letter formation and phonemic awareness while making connections to each letter through like real world. And I love this that we put hands-on components and digital components in this, because it's really important that students get that hands-on practice while focusing on letters. We also have another collection called Alphabet Treasures. And in that collection, students will get to work on rapid identification by hearing a sound and then what that letter could make. So they'll get to really build off their phonemic awareness of that specific letter. Then they'll complete different multidimensional activities to identify the letter in various contexts, really deepening their understanding of the letter. And of course, as you can see, a lot of these lessons include instructional videos, really to just guide your students, whether you're doing this in a small group, a whole group setting, or maybe they're doing this as an independent activity. And then now that your students are on their way to identifying sounds and letters, now they can begin to decode words, now with that blending and segmenting as part of their skills. And so I love this because this is a very digital component here where they get to manipulate blocks of letters. So this is phenomenal phonics. And this is a collection where students are really going to be engaged in more of that repeated practice in order to master a really various sound spelling relationship pattern here. And students will again get continuous practice of this skill. So they go from again identifying sounds in isolation to really fluently reading sounds together. And as you can see again, plenty of scaffolds built into each lesson. So they again get to hear the sounds and they get to see tutorial videos and they get to see they get to hear those directions in both English and in Spanish. And then next up, we have a sorting based activity on a sound spelling pattern. And again, this is again in phenomenal phonics. And students will just use that pattern recognition to really analyze and sort words based on focused sound spelling patterns. So here they can listen to and manipulate the words right inside of Seesaw. So they're just really moving those words around. Again, you can see that they've got the audio scaffolds built in. So if they're unsure of what the word says, like you see job, they can click on that audio button and it will say job. Again, they've got the tutorial video built in, English and Spanish audio directions. And they're really encouraged here as they're using the hand tool to manipulate those sorting words to record and state the word as they're moving it into the sorting box. And then finally, we've got dictation. So it's really important now for students to apply their acquired knowledge of sounds by having them listen to sounds that they hear and write and spell the word. So again, this is all in phenomenal phonics. And so in this dictation task, they're asked to write the word that they hear. So next to the little, looks like a little monkey, they click on the audio button and it's going to state a word for them. They can hear this word up to 3 times and they really are able to instantly get some feedback here and they can check their work as they go. So as you can see, the student wrote the word job and they can erase with the eraser off to the right hand side and continuously check their work. So they've got 3 ways to check their work. And then at the bottom, they will actually write a phrase. So they listen to the phrase and then they get to write it. And at the bottom, they're able to check their work. So again, they've got that tutorial video, a lot of audio scaffolds built in for students to be able to do this independently and lots of ways to receive that immediate feedback right within Seesaw. So let's go ahead and explore the ways that your students are going to be able to learn to read right within Seesaw. So we're going to check out the Fun Phonemes, Alphabet Garden, and Phenomenal Phonics. So I'm going to jump into my Seesaw account here. So when I go in, I am in my teacher journal. So this is like your home base of your teacher journal. To get to the Seesaw library, I'm going to tap on the library icon and then I am taken into my Seesaw library. Just remember that it is defaulted to your grade level that you teach in Seesaw. So if you're a first grade teacher, you're going to see that it's highlighted blue. One little teacher tip I love to give is I love to just click on all because we teach all types of learners in our classroom. So I love to see everything that the Seesaw Library has to offer. I don't like being boxed in. So let's check out Phenomenal Phonics. That's like a really popular collection that we offer. So I'm going to go to the Early Literacy tab. And I'm going to come, Fun Phonemes was one of the ones that we discussed. Alphabet Garden was another one. Great collections, especially for early, like early primary teachers. And it'll tell you what grade level these are specifically for. But Phenomenal Phonics is a truly foundational collection. So let's tap on View All Lessons. And remember, it gives you like a little brief description here. And so when I come in here, I'm going to come in and I'm going to look for the letter M today. And you can search for any letter you love. And you're going to see here we've got an introduction video where you can tap on present to class. This is really great when you've got your smart boards, a projection, really having that ability to come in here and really just bring your whole class instruction to life. You have the ability to have your multimodal tools come to life. Your students can come up to the board and they can interact within Seesaw. So you can play the video. So really fun and engaging. You've got questions here. You can discuss those whole class or small group. And then here are those activities. So you've got the sort, the blend, segment, change, write, play, connect, and then finally show what you know, that quick check, that formative assessment. One thing I do want to show you really quickly is if you select present to class and you're doing this with your students and you're like, well, we already did this together, Yvonne, well, they already saw it. How can I assign this to my students? As long as you have saved this and it's gone into your My Library, what you can do is, yes, you can present this to class, do this with your students, tap on the three dots and select Edit Activity. Now this becomes your own activity. You can rename this Sort Independent Activity if you'd like, and then click on the template and you can click on the three dots here and you can duplicate the slide. So now you just duplicated our work and you can come in here. You will have to click the three dots because everything is locked, that's all. And then you can actually come in here and you can rename any of these. So instead you can make this Matt or May, and you can lock it again so students can't mess with the words. And then you can have your own sort if you'd like. And you can tell them you're going to complete page 2 because we did page 1 together. That was your whole group instruction. So, and then just remember to save it. That way you can assign it out to your students. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to go in and view any of these 3 collections to support learning to read. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat or let Celeste and I know. Have fun exploring.
So Rosalind says that she's in early literacy, but she doesn't see phenomenal phonics.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I didn't. Let's see. So Rosalind, what I would make sure is that you may have like PK. Just make sure that you have it set to, because let me make sure, like if I'm on PK, early literacy, you should still see. Yeah, if you're on PK, maybe you have a default, maybe you're because it looked like you were the early childhood K teacher, you may have it set to PK-TK, and if that's the case, you're not going to see phenomenal phonics. So do my little teacher tip and select all, and that way phenomenal phonics will appear. That's one little hiccup that we have in Seesaw is that, again, when you go into the Seesaw library, it is defaulted to the grade level you teach. Let me know if that helps.
She said it worked.
Awesome, wonderful. Love when my little trick works. All right. So I hope that you were able to get in some explore time. I know it's never enough and we're in the middle of it and we're like, ah, that's okay. Save it, put the little heart it. It goes right into your library so you know to come back. Of course, I did give your district a copy of this deck. So this is a great place to come back to as well. So now that you had a little bit of exposure of how to support students in learning to read, was there something that resonated with you? And was there a particular lesson that you found that will support your students in learning to read? And how will you use it? So I'd love to hear your thoughts. So anything that resonated with you, and if there was a lesson that you found, and how do you plan to use it with your students? Just want to take a little pause.
Well, I'm finding interesting. We use Seesaw for the last couple of years as homework.
Okay.
So we assigned a lot of literacy and math assignments for homework. And I had no idea about this other side where I could go in and find these lessons and present them in class.
Hmm.
So that's going to be very helpful this next school year.
Amazing. I love it. Yay. Yay, yay, yay. Yes, definitely utilize, especially if you want to just start with that whole group. And then I believe one of your colleagues yesterday shared that they were loving those introduction videos. And so you can still assign those introduction videos as as part of like their homework so they can go back and refer to those introduction videos. So like that letter M video from Phenomenal Phonics, they can always refer back to that video when they're doing their homeworks or independent practice or centers and stations. So another way to utilize Seesaw still for homework if that is still the approach you still want to take, but still utilizing it as part of whole group as well. Thank you so much for sharing. Yes, Celeste, perfect for blended learning. So I was able to I was able to visit in person a first grade class, and they were using Seesaw in a blended learning model. This whole campus is a blended learning campus, and they use Seesaw specifically for the playlist. And so, amazing way that the teacher utilizes it, and how her students were so, I mean, just well versed, one in Seesaw and well versed in that playlist model, and how she built everything around Seesaw. It was just amazing to see, and just these little firsties were just going at it. Amazing. So, and also coming soon, I can say this because it's happening in Seesaw, coming for back to school. So about August, September timeframe, you're going to notice a change in Seesaw, and we're going to actually have what we're going to call content playlist. And so you'll be able to create your own playlist for students. So it'll be really, really powerful to see how teachers utilize the playlist aspect inside Seesaw. So I know there's a lot to see in one lesson. So as you could see in that Phenomenal Phonics letter M lesson, there were so many activities right there. But if you want to do one from letter M, one from letter P, one from letter A, you can create one solid playlist and assign that out over 1 to 2 weeks for a student or your entire class. So it's really going to be a powerful tool to utilize with your entire class. Looking forward to that. All right, so let's continue on. So now that your students have learned how to read, they can engage in reading to learn. So reading to learn requires your students to be able to comprehend and make meaning of the text using a variety of skills. So now inside the Seesaw Library, we're going to be able to provide you many different opportunities for your students to practice comprehension skills. So let's explore just a few different ways that you can do this with our Seesaw lessons. So when students are reading to learn, again, they continue to practice these skills we just covered while deepening their comprehension and understanding. So, really, to make that content memorable, students must practice the skills they learn in both isolation and in context. This really, again, allows for that repeated practice and targeted use of the skills, which deepens student understanding. So, one skill that your students can practice in Seesaw is asking questions about a text, and we know how important that is. So, here, second graders can complete a Power Blocks ELA lesson all about how to ask and answer questions about a text. And we know how wonderful students are about asking questions. They're curious all the time. So in these lessons, the skill is first modeled, as you can see, before students have a chance to read on their own or listen to the recorded audio to learn how to be successful with this skill. So since students have had that repeated and purposeful practice with that foundational skill, to teach them how to read, they are really easily able to draw upon those skills when they encounter a word that they don't know and get back to that reading to learn. So here, making inferences really is an important reading skill that we all know and understand. It really does allow your students to comprehend beyond what is stated on the page of a text. We also know sometimes how difficult this skill is for some of our students. So here, your students again are going to have multiple opportunities to practice this skill in our Power Blocks ELA lesson before really applying it to their own reading. And then this is one of probably my favorite collections. I have a lot of favorite collections, I think, but this is a What's My Job collection. And here we're really strengthening your students' vocabulary for informational text. So really building on students' background knowledge, developing those connections to the real world. And what I really love about this, yes, great for text features. And so I really love how we take a person's job, we're giving them these clues. So they're really building upon a lot of those skills that you're teaching in your classroom. And then it's like, surprise, did you guess what I am, what my job is? And again, really relating that to 21st century jobs in the real world, kind of giving them a glimpse into like, hey, you can be this person. And so, we're giving them immersive ways to look at informational text, again, by exploring these jobs. You're really applying personal context to all of these jobs and skills. There's so much rich vocabulary built in. And some of this, they may be a little unfamiliar, but that's okay because they're, again, getting immersed into that and getting exposure to it as well. So in this particular lesson that you see here, students will read to learn how Carly Jackson became a marine biologist through a variety of text features. So again, really engaging and reading informational text using our multimodal tools in Seesaw, really allowing your students to reflect on the text while building their comprehension. So now let's go ahead and explore how we can support reading to learn. So I'm going to come back over and I'm going to share my screen and come back into my journal. So let's look at ways that we can support reading to learn. So again, going back into my Seesaw library, and we talked about Power Block CLA and then that What's My Job collection. So again, I love just to tap that all. And there were two of those collections. And this time we're going to actually go into the English language arts tile. So kind of shifting away from the early literacy tile, which is okay because you're still going to find everything under English language arts. And so we have a lot of collections in this tile. So many. So you can still see Fun Phonemes, Alphabet Gardens. They all still live within this tile, Phenomenal Phonics. So in the Power Block CLA, that's going to be K2. And if you scroll down, you're going to see the What's My Job collection, and that's a 2 through 5 collection. So really quickly, the What's My Job. And so that here, you can see all kinds of different jobs. And I think this is really just a fun collection to explore with your students. They're very curious about jobs in general. And so when you look at that introduction, again, using your present to class, and just a note here, present to class is available in all of our Seesaw lessons, in any of your community library lesson activities, and any activity that you create from your My Library. So a fresh activity. So when you come in, you're going to see that, again here, hi, I'm Max Rodriguez. Listen to each clue and predict my job. So you're going to play these audio scaffolds here.
I use special software or computer programs to create movement for people, animals, and things to make them look real on the screen.
So you'll go through and you'll play every single one. And then on slide 2, it's like, did you predict that I am a simulation artist? Or did you get very close to my job? And so again, just really that noticing, that wondering, that predictions, all of that kind of comes into play. A lot of different features come into play with this. So the What's My Job collection is pretty powerful. And then again, you get to decide what activities you want to assign to your students. There's a lot going on in this collection. So pretty fun collection. So let's come back to the early literacy tile. Oopsies. That's not the one. I'm all over the place. English language arts. Here we go. Going back to all. And then we're going to do Power Blocks ELA. Such a great collection in here. There are so many great ideas to span from. How can I retell a story? The asking question ones is in here as well. So a lot of great ideas in here. And so I'm just going to come in here and I'm just going to pick one. And then again, you've got that introduction. You can present that to class. Again, you've got those discussion questions, whole group, pulling it back into your small group. And then they've got different ways. They've got create, solve, make, move, choose, connect, and show what you know. Some of these even have a right. So you really, as a teacher, kind of have to go in here and decide, what am I going to do whole group? What am I pulling small group? What's going to be independent practice? What is my formative assessment? You don't have to do all of these. This could just be, you know what, I think I want my kids to do this, or I think I want my kids to do that, or this would be a fun take-home activity. The connect are usually those home pieces to do with a family member, or they could do with a partner at school. So again, like that present a class here, you could show this off whole group and tell them those expectations. And then they do this at your turn. So a lot of that hands-on practice and then transferring it to that digital piece. They're doing everything pencil, paper. They get to do that create phase, really putting them in the driver's seat. And then they get to show you what they know at the end. So I love that. So let me have you go in and explore those two collections for just a few minutes. Again, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I promise this time I'll scroll. And then if not, just let Celeste or I know. All right, have fun exploring. right. If you could take a stop, if you could find a stopping place where you are. And I know it's always so hard to stop, but we will get ready to move on to our last piece, and that is writing. So now that we've explored our other two pieces and learning to read, reading to learn, now we will explore writing because we know it's really important for our students to be supported in writing as soon as they begin reading. So this really does happen naturally as our students learn to print letters. As we know, it can begin with squiggles and drawings, and then as they begin to phonetically spell words and work on writing complete sentences. So repeating and purposeful practice of those reading skills really do support our students in developing their foundational writing skills. Our Seesaw lessons are going to allow you to supplement your writing instruction by offering your students, again, that purposeful practice of the skills like sentence writing, use of vocabulary, paragraph writing, and genre writing as they begin to engage in those fun writing tasks. So students' comprehension skills are strengthened as they encounter new vocabulary in the text that they read. So you can easily supplement vocabulary instruction here with our Word Detectives collection. So I know this looks a little more upper grade, but this is a great exposure, I believe, for all of our students. So in this collection, students are first going to use their context clues to determine the meaning of tiered vocabulary words. And then they're going to have, again, those multiple opportunities to practice these words, again, by writing their sentences, defining each word, and then drawing and acting out newly learned words. So again, with that new vocabulary, your students are better able to express their ideas and then communicate effectively. And then as you begin to teach genre writing, again, back into that Power Block CLA collection, we have a few lessons that you can use to supplement your writing instruction. So all of these lessons include an instructional video that you can use to remind your students of the process of writing in a specific genre. So in this case, it was writing a story. So as you can see here in this lesson, students first plan out their story with that story arc, as you can see in that picture. And then students then are going to go offline and they get to write a story with a problem using their journal, piece of scratch paper, what have you, whatever they've got in the classroom. And then once they're done, they're going to use the camera tool right inside of Seesaw, and then they're going to capture what they wrote. So as you can see, there are multiple opportunities for your students to write and draw of their different stories throughout this particular lesson. So your students are, again, provided with that practice of writing sentences. They get to add their details through the writing process, and again, throughout all of these lessons. And then when your students get to third grade, they begin to focus on that entire writing process and how to write paragraphs from their completed sentences. So we've got a great collection, and it's called Story Pirates, Story Sparks. And this does span 3 through 5. And it really takes your students through that entire writing process. A couple of months ago, I feel like it was a couple of months ago, it's probably like a month and a half ago. I say like it was way long ago. It really wasn't. We had Story Pirates come on for a webinar, and they did a fantastic job. So this collection is actually in conjunction with Story Pirates. So you're going to actually see a lot of like different types of videos. We've even got podcasts on there for the upper grade students to really, again, spark the writing process. So it's actually a very fun collection to go into. So again, here students brainstorm their ideas with that spark, that idea really presented in the lesson. There are a couple of different lesson ideas. And so they do this both in an offline and an online type of way. They have access to different models and exemplars throughout the lessons before that brainstorming process begins. The next step in that writing process is the writing, editing, and revising. Now, I know naturally students typically do this in all grade levels. So this is also a great way that our K1-2 teachers can still go in there and pull some different ideas or revise some of these templates as well. So research shows that in this revision and editing process, your students are really going to solidify and really hone in on like their writing craft. So particularly in this collection, students are taken through these first steps as they write, and then they are prompted to edit and revise their own writing, as well as they can help a partner to do so. We know how crucial that can be and effective that can be as well, to give a friend or a partner that peer-to-peer feedback. Oh, you're welcome, Elizabeth. So students, again, are going to use the microphone tool to read their writing out loud while editing so they can hear any of those grammatical revisions. And as we know in Seesaw, when students capture their work through the camera tool and then use the microphone tool to record, they can also make those annotations using the drawing pens. And then finally, your students get to publish their fantastic writing piece and really celebrate all of their hard work that they've done throughout this process. So whether that took a week, 2 or 3 weeks time, they really have that celebration moment. So again, they're going to use that camera tool, take a picture of their writing piece, and again, use the microphone to really read aloud their writing and bring it to life. And we know how animated students can get when they read their writing. I know that just listening to 5 and 6-year-olds read their writing is just a joy. One, I love hearing littles read their work, but even hearing the older students, they really get so into their writing pieces. This is also great for your multilingual learners because sometimes they get so shy. They don't want to even sit next to you and read their writing, but when you put them in front of Seesaw and you put, they just have like a little space to themselves, they become so animated and they really express themselves. So really, this is a great opportunity and a great practice place for them to practice their writing, practice their fluency. Great encouragement here. And again, you get to reflect on their writing. They get to reflect as well. So now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you those pieces. So let me come into the library. Let me share my tab because I'm doing all these things and you can't see it. So again, we're going to look at those 3 that we talked about: Word Detectives, Power Blocks, and Story Sparks, or Story Pirates, Story Sparks. I always incorrectly say that collection name. So going back into the library. Oh, was there a question? I'm so sorry. Okay. All right. So tapping on all, just so I can see everything, going back into the English language arts tile. And then now, oh, by the way, we have a new collection, nonfiction books, if you're interested. Sidetrack. So again, the Power Block CLA, really great for your K2 span. And so again, coming back in here, and you can look at all of our writing collections. This is, I knew there was one in here and I found it earlier today because I needed it. But how can I write a narrative like an author? That's a really good one. Again, you have that introduction. The majority of our lessons have that introduction video. Really encourage you that you watch these introduction videos whole class. Again, these are great to assign your students so they have a reference point as well as they're doing independent work, as we're talking about possibly you're doing these for homework as well. Yes, there is a link to the presentation, Maria. I can give that to you when you have your explore time in just 1 second. So here's the little video, really cute, really fun. So they're cute and they're fun. We've got our puppets in here. This Rainbow Bear. It's like our makeover Rainbow Bear, as we call him. He got a little makeover. And then again, you've got these other pieces in here, like the think, the write, And in the right, there's always a video for students, and then they come in here and then they get to do like the hands-on piece and then that digital component. Again, there's your scaffolds, English and Spanish directions. Again, don't forget to save it. And then if you want, tap the three dots. You're always welcome to edit any of these pieces. So when I come back in here, we also have Word Detectives. That's the 3-5 collection. And then just to show you the story, Pirate Story Sparks. I know these are 3-5, but they're just so fun to look at. Persuasive writing, like the winter collection. You as the teacher can still come in here and you can look at these and just kind of take some ideas from them and even still create if you want. You can steal some of the template ideas. And so you can present these to the class. And this is like the podcast version of it here, and you can just listen. And again, it's just something different for the students to listen to and think about. And they have, that's the spark. That's how they think and start to brainstorm those ideas. And really just a different way and idea of sparking that interest and love of writing. Because I know writing is very difficult for kids. It's truly difficult for me as an adult. So I'm not going to lie. So just something to look at, something different. So I'm going to give you just a couple of minutes to come in and explore these different types of lessons that support writing. And then Maria, I'll drop that link for you. All right. So let's go ahead and find a stopping place and quick little discussion again. Now that you've had time to go through all of the sections, reading to learn, learning to read, and writing, was there anything that really stuck out to you? Any ahas? A particular lesson that you're like, "Oh, I just had to use this with my students as we start this school year. I went in and made sure I saved it." Love for you to drop it in the chat. Feel free to come off mute, or just really anything that just resonated with you in this session. Would love to hear it before we end our time together. I wish that Seesaw had all of this fantastic lesson, or had all of these lessons when I was a coach. That would have been amazing. I missed out.
Yeah, I was that teacher that was like creating everything during the pandemic year for my students, because Seesaw really saved me during that pandemic and hybrid year. I was just math science, but I used Seesaw a lot to help me understand how my students were solving the problem. So they would have to record either a screenshot of themselves working out the problem and explaining the steps. So like, I love Seesaw. So the amount of resources that have been added since the last time I was here, amazing. So thank you for walking us through and giving us time to really explore those.
Yeah, of course. And Rosalind, yes. And Celeste, same here. Like, we were feverishly cranking out model templates for our teachers during COVID and the hybrid year too. Like, just, this is what you can do for this unit in the district. And oh my goodness. And now they have everything. We're like, ah. So, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. But yes, definitely, Rosalind, you said yes. And we can't wait to hear how it works out for your students. Share it with your instructional team as well. We would love to hear how it's working out, any feedback you have too, so we can continue to improve it. So, great job, everyone. You did it. You learned, again, how to develop learning to read skills using our Seesaw lessons. You definitely saw a lot of collections that can definitely fit in as a supplement to your great curriculum that you're using in your district. Really how to strengthen your students' comprehension, and again, how to supplement writing instruction in your classroom. So again, as you enter time with me today, and as you wrap up your conference, Ready, Tech, Go, make sure that you're setting a goal for yourself. You're seeing a lot of great and wonderful technology tools, just a lot of great things that you can be using to supplement your instruction moving forward as you gear up for back to school next year. So make sure you set a goal for Seesaw and other great instructional tools for yourself. We do have some other skills that we would love to show you, but I know our time is limited today. So we do have learn.seesaw.me and web.seesaw.me/training. So the Learning Hub is learn.seesaw.me. And real quickly, I'll just share that tab with you. This is our Learning Hub. It's an asynchronous course. And so you can take any course in here and receive a certificate of training. And so I know here in the state of Texas, it's so important that we keep up our professional learning hours. And so if your district accepts it, you can come in here and start and stop any course that you would like. And again, you'll receive a certificate of training. So great way to kind of keep up your hours over the summer if you're able to. So thank you again so much, everyone, for joining me today on how to strengthen literacy in your classroom. If there's any last minute questions, I know we've got 1 minute now. There was 2 minutes there, but I would love to answer anything before we wrap up our time. Yes, there are activities in Spanish. I know Celeste did drop the sign in, sign out link, but real quickly, I can show you, Maria, in our collection here. You can scroll down and you can see actually the tab lessons in Spanish. Just a note here that if you look at any of these lessons, just make sure you are well versed in Spanish, because they're all written in Spanish. If not, if you are not well versed in Spanish, you can always click like on a tile, and like I can tell you for sure, like Phenomenal Phonics, I think Fun Phonemes is too, but like Phenomenal Phonics, if you click like on the letter M, if you scroll down or tap on Jump to Lesson Plan, underneath there should be like a link that says like go to the Spanish. I don't know why that one doesn't have it. Let me try the letter A. I know they're all being trans adapted right now to the to Spanish. So here's one. So if you're looking for a Spanish version, that's how you'll know if it has a Spanish version. So they're being trans adapted to Spanish. It does take a little bit of time, so just be a little patient with us. But if you want to see the full collection, the Spanish collection tile is the best.